everybody. So yesterday I had the chance to go see a double feature. I saw Race and Risen. So you could say I had a little bit of R&R at the movies. It was really, really fun. And I normally don't do videos combined together, but these, I felt like I basically had the same things to say about both of them. So I felt like it kind of worked to have them together on this video. Now, I'm not the kind of person that requires everything to be super original. I'm fine with a satisfying formula, even you could say generic, but a satisfying formula movie. Definitely make the case that both Race and Risen are both generic. Neither of them are super original, but they're both very well acted, they're very well put together, and I think they're both entertaining films. So the first one I'll talk about is Race, and this stars Stephen James as Jesse Owens, who, of course, we know from the 1936 Olympics, he had 4 gold medals. It was basically a big affront to Hitler that, Hitler wanted to use the Olympic Games for his own big PR push, but Jesse Owens was kind of a big middle finger to Hitler and the Nazis, which was awesome. It also stars Jason Sudeikis as his coach, Larry Snyder, and I thought that Jason Sudeikis actually really pulled off sort of a Clark Gable kind of feel from that era. He had just this sort of an old-fashioned quality to him. You also see William Hurt and Jeremy Irons in this, and I felt like they were a little underused, but they are good in the scenes that they're in. They play members of the Olympic Committee that are trying to decide whether they should go into the games or not, whether they want to support this regime in their big PR stunt that they're doing. So they go back and forth, and you also see Jesse starting out at college at Ohio State, his original training, his original meets that he did. He has a girlfriend who he has a child with, and he has some sort of girl problems. And so there are a lot of subplots in this movie. I feel a little tedious at moments. And so I felt like if they had started it kind of maybe at when he was already sort of training, maybe at Ohio State or something like that, to kind of get it going faster, I think it would have been more effective. But it's still, I think, a satisfying film. It looks really good. I thought they got sort of those period details right. I thought all the performances were good. James as Jesse Owens was very relatable and real. And I think the music by Rachel Portman was very well done. Very inspiring. True story, of course. And they definitely makes you think. I'm a huge Olympic junkie, so this is really kind of right up my alley. But I remember watching both the Beijing Olympics and the Olympics in Russia, the last one, and I felt uncomfortable because it did feel like both of those were big PR stunts. Really, you could just feel the one in Russia that it was Putin trying to say to the world, like, look how great we are. And, the human rights violations that are in both of those countries, in China and Russia. And so it was kind of uncomfortable. It was the first time in my life that with those Olympics that I really felt awkward about sort of supporting the Olympics in a way, because it did feel like you're supporting this regime. And so these issues still go on today, and they're still talked about today with the modern Olympics. So I thought that was interesting too, to kind of think about and compare. Let's talk about Risen. Risen is directed by Kevin Reynolds, and it stars Joseph Fiennes as this man Clavius, and he is in the Roman army, and he works for Pilate, and he gets the job to go and remove the body of Jesus Christ from the cross and see to the burial and tombing and everything like that. Well, of course, we all know from the Bible what basically happens, and the body is lost, and so he starts to go on this sort of CSI Jerusalem trying to find this body for the first kind of half of the movie. Him and Tom Felton is in the film, and they go and look and they exhume all these corpses and are trying to find everything. And of course they can't, because he was resurrected. And especially if you think of it in the world of faith-based films, this is a very well-made faith-based film. The acting is solid across the board. It looks really nice. It is interesting, I think, that they came at it from a perspective of a non-believer. That was sort of refreshing and different. There are a couple things I didn't really care for. I didn't like the way that they turned the apostles, the disciples, into sort of, it felt like kind of like Robin and his merry men. It was like Jesus and his merry men. They were too silly. They were too joking, and I don't know, I just didn't like that. And I also did not like the way that they portrayed Mary Magdalene. I know that she was a woman of the streets, but by the time that she was working with Christ, she had asked for forgiveness, and she had washed his feet. So I think the idea that she was just still sort of a harlot, I personally don't agree with, but maybe that's just my interpretation of the scriptures versus theirs. There are a couple points in the pacing that could have been a little tighter, that we didn't need to see so many of the bodies exhumed. We didn't need to see so many of certain scenes. They become a little repetitive, and it is pretty gruesome for a faith-based film. Just so you know, like, there is a scene of battle at the beginning where people are stabbed and people are speared. There's a lot of dead corpses that you see. You see, of course, the crucifixion and some of those details that are very violent. So that is something to be aware of. But overall, I thought the performances were good. I thought it took a refreshing perspective. I thought that it had a pretty interesting, good story. I liked the guy that they got to play Jesus. I thought that he was very, I thought that he looked like a Jewish man. Like, he had, I don't know, just a little more realistic than a lot of the other actors that I've seen play Jesus. And there was sort of peace about him, and you could see why people would follow him. And I thought that Tom Felton was actually really good. It's kind of funny, his name is Lucius in this, which is sort of funny. But overall, it's an enjoyable, inspiring film. It doesn't preach to you too much. It's not too dogmatic. It is a successful faith-based film, I think. I think that if you are of the Christian faith, I think you'll really like it. Basically, my thoughts on Race and Risen. Neither one is super original. Neither one is hitting it out of the park. They're not like great movies, but they're both satisfying formula films that are well made, well acted, and that are enjoyable times at the movies. So I would give both a solid B. I think you should see both if you get a chance. So that is my thoughts on Race and Risen. Let me know if you've seen either, what you think, and put in the comments section. And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you later. Bye.